Excellent, yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm going to miss the whole thing, especially reading Torah.
Yeah,
The one thing I've been waiting for. I'm going to be. That's what happens every time I go to Florida. Something.
You won't. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu ne'eshel lahadlik ne'eshel Shabbat.
Shabbat, yeah, go ahead and sit down. Shabbat shalom, everyone. It's great to see you all this evening. Let's take a moment, turn to the people sitting around you, wish each other Shabbat shalom. Welcome, come on in. Come on in. Good to see everybody. Come on in, come on in. Shabbat shalom. We're going to begin on page 10. Page 10.
Come on in, have a seat. We're in the middle of the page. Yedid nefesh avarachaman, Yedid nefesh avarachaman, Meshochav decha, El retzonecha, Yaruch tzadecha, Kemo hayam.
On page 12, Psalm 95. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai.
Lecho neranena l'Adonai, nari'a letzlo yishenu, nekadma fanav betodah, bizmirot nari'a lo, ki el gadol Adonai, umelech gadol al kol Elohim, אשר בידו מחקרי הארץ ותועפות הרים לו.
On page 13.
At the bottom of the page, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, ירם הים, ירם הים, ירם הים ומלואו, ירם הים, ירם הים, ירם הים ומלואו, ירם הים, ירם הים, ירם הים ומלואו, ירם הים, ירם הים, ירם הים ומלואו. יעלו שרי וכל אשר בו, אז ירננו כל הצייר, לפני אדוני קיווה, קיווה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, וימים באמונתו.
Amen. Page 7. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Together. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world of this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Page 14.
I'm going to need your help. But the good news is it's just one word on one note. So the word is or. It's the first word at the third paragraph on 14. Can you all say or?
Or.
Which means light. Light, just like we just lit the candles. So we have to hold it out for a few measures, like this. Oh, you try. Oh, one more time. Oh, okay, two more times. Oh, Orzaru alat tzadikul yishrei lev simcha. Orzaru alat tzadikul yishrei lev simcha. Simchu tzadikim b'Adonai. Simchu tzadikim b'Adonai. Or 1, 2.
זרוע לצדיק ולישרי לב שמחה. אור זרוע לצדיק ולישרי לב שמחה. שמחו צדיקים באדוני, הודו לזכר קודשו.
Page 20. Let's welcome Shabbat. We'll sing Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor haberacha. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. lecha דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Verse 5. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. lecha דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
If you would like to rise to greet the Shabbat bride, I invite you to do so. You may also choose to remain seated.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. lecha דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
On page 9. Page 9. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope. For Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living. For Shabbat memories, glowing even in darkness. For Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. On page 22, a song for Shabbat.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שמחתני אדוני בפעליך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאור עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
On 25 at the bottom of the page. And so we understand that ordinary people are messengers of the Most High. They go about their tasks in holy anonymity, often even unknown to themselves. Yet if they had not been there, if they had not said what they said or did what they did, it would not be the way it is now. We would not be the way we are now. Never forget that you too yourself may be a messenger, perhaps even one whose errand extends over several lifetimes. On the opposite page, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharei, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharei, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharei, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malachi Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malachi Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malachi Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzitechem l'shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malachi Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzitechem l'shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malachi Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzitechem l'shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malachi Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch
Okay, everybody. Close your books. I learned, the branding on this has actually been really good because I learned last week that if I don't say close your books, then you guys don't even realize that a sermon happened.
Let's try it again. Open your books.
Yeah.
Close your
Last week I gave a sermon and some people came up and said, where was the sermon? You didn't give a sermon.
We didn't use
Well,
books.
you didn't say close your books.
We didn't use books.
Yeah. All right, so now the books are closed. Close your books. Every profession has its challenges that push your skills to the limit and give you that rush of excitement when you succeed. So, whatever it might be in your field. If you're a physician, it might be using your knowledge of biochemistry to treat a complex illness. If you're a teacher, it might be helping 5- and 6-year-old children learn how to read and write. Well, for rabbis, it's figuring out how to give good sermons about Leviticus. Leviticus, it's a book all about sacrificing animals and splattering their blood all over the altar and burning their fat and intestines because, well, apparently God thinks it smells good. I feel like I've got about one good sacrifice sermon in me each year, but, then you get to the second week of Leviticus and you're like, what am I going to say now? So I opened the Torah to this week's parasha, and here's what I find. Quote, Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, command Aaron and his sons thus. This is the ritual of the burnt offering. The burnt offering itself shall remain where it is burned upon the altar all night until morning, while the fire on the altar is kept on it. Riveting so far. Definitely need to know how to do this. And then it goes on. The priest shall dress in linen raiment with linen breeches next to his body, and he shall take up the ashes to which the fire has reduced the burnt offering on the altar and place them beside the altar. He shall then take off his vestments and put on other vestments and carry the ashes outside the camp to a pure place. All right, so now taking off your breeches in the sanctuary. And I wonder, why exactly are we reading this? But then we get to this part. The fire on the altar shall be kept burning, not to go out. Every morning the priest shall feed wood to it, lay out the burnt offering on it, and turn into smoke the fat parts of the offerings of well-being. A perpetual fire shall be kept burning on the altar, not to go out. Now I noticed this thing about the fire having to be kept burning continually without going out is repeated 3 times in just this introductory paragraph. So I think, interesting, maybe there's something to this. Then I'm out walking my dog the other day, and I'm listening to a podcast interview with a guy named Rick Rubin. I don't know if you've heard of him. Some of you are nodding your head. Well, I had not heard of him before, but he's a major record producer, and he's worked with musicians in almost every genre of modern music that you can imagine, from Jay-Z to Justin Bieber and others. I looked him up. It turns out that he's considered to be the most important and influential producer in the music business, at least according to Wikipedia, that is. Anyway, I found the interview fascinating. He explained that as a producer, his role is to help the artists he works with bring out the very best of what they have to give to the world. That's how he described it. To bring out the very best of what they have to give to the world. And the only way to do this, he says, is for the artist to put the audience last. Yeah, it's a paradox, and he acknowledges it. Ultimately, of course, the aim of any musician who's going to hire Rick Rubin to be their producer is to sell records and make money. To do that, of course, they have to produce music that the audience will like. So you might think that they should put the audience first. But the problem, Rubin said, is that when an artist does that, puts the audience first, they necessarily constrain themselves and end up creating music that is inauthentic. Inauthentic because it comes from what they think other people want rather than from the true core of the artist's being. And here's where Rubin, who came from a Jewish family, I don't know if he's a practicing Jew, but in any case, knowingly or not, he invokes Leviticus. He says that he tells his artists to put the audience out of their mind and to imagine that they're creating music as an offering to God. Why? Because if you're doing it for God, then A, you're going to dig deep and open yourself up and create the truest, best music you're capable of creating. And B, because you're free from worrying about other people's opinions, you will create something that is fully authentic to who you are. And that, Rubin says, is ultimately what the audience wants. In other words, in our commercialized social media influencer, Insta-worthy ideal life world, the paradox is that authenticity is what sells. Aha, I thought this is why we're reading Leviticus. That thing about keeping the fire burning continually and not letting it go out. It may have been a literal instruction for the ancient priests, but it's a metaphor for us today, like the burning bush. And here's a quote from Rabbi Soloveitchik. He says, "In the deep recesses of their personality, in the hidden center of every person, there is a fire burning. The center is aflame, but the exterior remains cold. Somehow, the fire cannot reach the exterior. Why not? Because we are slaves to the expectations and judgments of others. Our peer group, our society, our family, our parents, our children, our colleagues, our neighbors. We are hostages to the events and circumstances and tragedies that befall us from outside our control. Like the artist who puts the audience first in their creative process, we let these external pressures drive us to try to be the person we think others want us to be. And even more than that, we assimilate what we perceive to be the opinions and expectations of others into our own consciousness and identity, to the point that we mistake what they think we should be for who we truly are. We convince ourselves that we are victims, that the world happens to us and there's nothing we can do about it, that we are hopelessly doomed by the hand we are dealt. The result is that we become alienated or estranged from our own self. We forget or devalue or silence who we are and who we were created to be. We forget what our prayer book wants us to remember every day, that the soul God has given me is pure. And that if there had ever been someone like me before, there would have been no need for me to exist. And forgetting this has damaging consequences. Like the cold thorns of the bush, it cools the fire that burns in the core of our being. And in time, that fire will grow weaker and dimmer. That's why the Torah commands us 3 times in our parashah this week. Keep the fire burning on the altar. Do not let it go out. At the Seder this coming week, we'll read that old familiar line in the Haggadah, which says, in every generation, one must see themselves as though they went out of Egypt, personally. Rabbi Soloveitchik explains that this means that a person must see in the story of the Exodus, as in a mirror, the inward drama of his or her own soul. Pesach calls us to liberate ourselves from the social pressures and the delusion that we are what happens to us. As Soloveitchik puts it, only through an act of sheer heroism can one free oneself and mold a new inner experience. However, freedom is not the ultimate end of our questing, he says. Freedom is only the viaduct leading to something higher and more sublime, to the final destination of our fellowship with God. The Exodus, he goes on to say, is the narrative of a human being who refuses to be satisfied with being part of an order forced on them, distant from the reality which peeps through, and who pursues a paradoxical quest for the real being, for God. This, as I interpret it, is exactly what Rick Rubin meant when he said he encourages his artists to forget about the audience and create their music as an offering to God. And this wisdom of his doesn't only apply to artists and musicians. Rubin just published a book in which he describes it as, quote, a way of being. I haven't read his book yet, but as I understood him in the interview, anyone can take this approach in any of our various spheres of life. Just as God in our parasha teaches the priests how to make their offering to God, the theologian Mordecai Kaplan, the founder of Reconstructionist Judaism, says that God can help us become our fullest and most authentic self. Kaplan didn't believe in a supernatural God who pulled the strings in the world. Instead, he described God as the power that makes for salvation. The power that makes for salvation. By reaching out to God in prayer and mitzvot, Kaplan taught that we can tap into the core of who we are and harness the power that is God to achieve self-realization. As he puts it, what more comprehensive purpose can there be to human life than the complete and harmonious fulfillment of all the physical, mental, and moral powers with which the human self as a social being is endowed? On Pesach, we tell the story of how our ancestors went from slavery to freedom. But more importantly, we are invited to live out this story of redemption in our own lives. Keep the fire burning, the Torah commands. Do not let it go out. Authenticity is the key. Put the audience last. Put God first. Free yourself of the order, the expectations, the judgments, the predetermined outcomes imposed on you by other people and by the world, and live your life as an offering to God. Stop looking to others to tell you who you should be. Instead, open yourself to God and become your truest self, and bring out the very best of what you have to give to the world as a unique creation of God. In the words of the Psalms, Va'ani b'chastecha batachti, yagel libi bishuatecha, which means I have trusted in God's kindness. My heart will rejoice in your salvation. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. We're going to continue on page 26.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה וילמד יברח חיותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגאלה בגאלה ובזמן קריב וימרו Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Ulalmei Amaya Yiparach Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yidromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei lekodsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata nechemata damiran be'alma v'yimeru Amen. La 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 Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
On page 31 at the top together. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heavens span to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows.
Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tzevahot shemo. El Chai v'Kayam Tamid yimloch aleinu leolam vahed Baruch atah Adonai Hamahari v'haravi.
On page 32. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
Ki heim chayenu ve'yorech yameinu ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל שמע ישראל Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad לעולם ועד.
Please be seated. Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני
Adonai Elohechem.
אדוני אלוהיכם, אמן.
Page 41. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, for soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל הכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם לי 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 מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים זה אלינו ויאמרו זה אלינו ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד לי 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 ונאמר כי ודע אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני קהל ישראל.
143 together at the top. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch ata Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. on the next page.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Page 46, please rise.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'gibur ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. Page 50. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל, אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים מאמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדום מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וכראשים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. We continue in private meditations using English or Hebrew or the language of our hearts, standing or sitting as is your custom.
pray now for loved ones, friends, family members, and members of our community who are struggling and in need of God's healing and peace. If you're praying for someone this evening and you'd like to share their name, I invite you to do so now. Thank you, Barbara. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Sharon. Thank you, Elaine. Thanks, Donna. Thank you, Ellen. Thanks, Arlene. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, John. Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Thanks, Michael. Thank you, Alice. Thanks, Mark. May God be with all of them and bring them a speedy renewal of body and spirit. Page 253.
Mi sheberach avotenu mekol habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Page 282. Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
be seated. We remember now our loved ones who have gone from this world. If you are comfortable and able to do so, I invite you to rise as you hear the name of your loved one read. On this Shabbat, we are in Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning for Burton Aronson, Stephen Artsis, Gwen Klein, Robin Rosenberg, Jerome Serchuk, Helen Billy Greenfield Straub, Cecilia Seal Zuckerman. And we recall the yahrzeits of Robert H. Aaron, John J. Baruch, Joseph Kaplan, Mortimer Carr, Shirley Cohen, James B. Downey, Genia Green, Sid Getz, Rabbi David Goodis, Cora Grunbaum, Harold Hyman, Cynthia Kaplan, Stanley Markowitz, Samuel Rosenzweig, Ellie Sarfati, Anna Schwartz, Rose Stone, Isaac G. Wolf, Charles Goldstein, and Ruth Johnson. If you're remembering someone whose name wasn't read and you'd like to share their name with us, I invite you to do so now.
Thomas Fulani.
Thank you, John. Michael Nevins. Thank you, Arlene. Thank you, Jordana. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. If it's your custom to rise for Kaddish, I invite you to do so now and join us on page 294. Yitzkadal v'yitzkadash merabah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach cherute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'alam ulalmei almaya. Yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen.
Amen.
May the one who makes harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world. May their memories be for a blessing. We say together, amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
It's great to see everybody here this evening. I want to, make several announcements, but first some thank yous to the Margaloff family for baking our challah. Thank you. To Cantor Adam, thank you for the inspiring music this evening.
And thank you for the inspiring drosh.
Thank you. And thank you to Jerry Adelberg, who stepped in as our usher this evening to hand out the Sidurim and welcome everybody warmly.
You too can be an usher.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking at all of you.
Yes, you can all do it. And thank you, Jerry, for stepping in tonight. And thank you to our Oneg bakers, Linda Diamond, Roberta Lulov, Ellen Sapien, Gloria Landsberg, Aaron Hirsch-Romero, Robbie Pravder, Joanna Stolov, Donna Letterman, Beth and Adam Schneider, and Martha Hirsch. We know there are many of you who love to bake and are very talented. Remember what I said. You want to bring out the best in you and pour it into your baked goods and bring it here to celebrate Oneg.
So we can
with
pour
us.
it into ourselves.
Yes, so we can pour it into ourselves, right? And I want to say thank you to Joanna Stolov and Roz Wise and everybody else who was responsible for organizing our Friday night live dinner for young families and our Tat Shabbat and everything.
It's a past president's
Oh my goodness!
thing.
Whoa!
We don't want to burn the place down.
Wow, that is bizarre. I've never seen that
I should
before.
have been a chiropractor.
Wow.
I think, yeah. Yeah. I think we have an orthopedist in the congregation, but I don't know about an orthocandlist. Now we have Ron. Okay, so next Friday, friends, we have the second in our series of experimental, innovative worship services, followed by the conversation to debrief it. So next Friday is going to be what we are calling Contemporary Shabbat. That is going to feature contemporary mainstream reform music and singing, and a very special addition, which is a Torah reading, hearkening back to the earlier times of Reform Judaism when it was customary to read the Torah on Friday night. We're going to do that as part of our service, and we have a special rededication of Rabbi Rudin's podium, which you might remember. It's been sitting in the hallway for I don't know how long, but a long time. But thanks to Abby and Andy Christis, our members, who have sponsored it to be refurbished. It's beautiful, it's ready to go, and we're going to reintroduce it into the chapel next week.
And it's on wheels.
It's on wheels, it can move around, we can do all kinds of great things with it, and Abby Christis is going to give it a guest sermon to help rededicate it. So that's all happening next week, followed by the conversation to debrief the experience afterward. So I hope you'll join us for that.
The following week, we're going to have another experimental service without a conversation afterwards. We're going to have a Maimuna Shabbat. Maimuna is the Moroccan celebration of the end of Passover. There's a Persian equivalent called Shab Esal, and we're going to celebrate both on Friday night by reintroducing Chametz to our congregation. So we're going to have a lively Sephardic service with lots of different instruments, and then we're going to gorge ourselves on sweets.
All right, that sounds amazing. So good things coming up.
The bakers have the week off.
All right. So I know that there are several of you in the congregation tonight who have celebrated birthdays in the past week. If you celebrated a birthday this past week, I want to invite you to come on up for the Kiddush and the Motzi. And I'll invite the congregation to please rise. Oh my goodness.
ויכולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויכול אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי היבו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות צברי.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratza banu v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava u'vratzon inchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים קיוונו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת
לחיים.
אמן לחיים.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. And happy birthday to Rochelle, Beth, Sandy, and Jen. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא ועת נשא בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי ביצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנע כוסי ביום אקרא, בידו אבקית רוחי, בעת תישן וירירה, עם רוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא, אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לי עת נשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. La 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 la
Downstairs. Yeah, let me announce. Friends, we have a wine tasting downstairs that was organized by Beth Schneider. Don't miss out. Go downstairs and taste some wine.